So you probably know that in any major or minor key, you get 7 chords, right? The root chord, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the infamous 7 chord, which is a diminished chord. And if we play it with an extended 7th, it becomes a half-diminished chord or a minor 7 flat 5. And most guitar teachers are going to tell you to avoid this chord because it's the different chord, right? All the other chords are either major or minor chords. You see them more often in pop music and the first songs you learn on guitar. So they tell you, we're going to push this chord aside for now. And while it might be great advice for true beginners not to confuse them, the problem is that many people never come back to learning the half-diminished chord, and it's actually a secret weapon. You can do so many musical things with it on the fretboard. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you 5 different ways you can use the half-diminished chord musically on guitar. So just before starting, I'm just going to show you a few shapes that you can play if you don't know how to play it on the fretboard. So the first one is like this. So usually a minor 7 chord is played like this, but we want to lower the 5th of the chord for a flat 5 to get our minor 7 flat 5 chord, so that's played like this. So that's the shape from the 6th string. The shape from the 5th string is going to be like this. That's a really comfortable one that I like. So the regular minor 7 is like this. And we have to lower the 5th of the chord, which is on our ring right here. So we have to play it 1 fret down, and it does that voicing right here. And another useful shape from the 4th string this time is this one. So it's a really useful 2-finger, really easy to play. You just need to bar with your middle finger. Maybe it's not common for you, so maybe you have to practice that. But with those 3 chord shapes, I'm sure that anywhere you are on the fretboard, one of those 3 is going to be closest to where you are so that you don't have to jump too much. So this one, and this one. So the 5 ways to use the half-diminished chord musically, some of them are going to sound jazzier, but you can use them in other ways than jazz. And I'm using them really frequently in my ambient guitar music, so you'll see it's not only for jazz. Number 1 way to use the half-diminished is to play it before the flat 6 chord in a minor key. It sounds beautiful. So if I am in the key of C minor, the flat 6 chord is gonna be A from A flat right here, and we're gonna play a major 7 structure right here. So in my C minor scale, the 6th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is A flat. That's why we start on A flat. And we have to build a major 7 shape just to make sure that we stay in the key, right? And what we're going to do from that chord, we're going to keep the rest on top, but we're going to change the bass note from A flat to A natural, so 1 fret higher, and we get our shape of the half-diminished. And that's a nice color because we have so many notes in common between this and this that it's just a really nice passing chord to use. So I could play the root chord, let's say C minor 7, and then our half-diminished on A natural, then A flat major 7, and we can finish with G dominant, for example. So it does. And maybe it sounded jazzy a little bit right now, but there's a way to use it that it doesn't sound jazzy. My favorite way is to use it in the key of E minor. And I have a super easy shape. So actually the little minor 7 flat 5 shape, we're going to play it on C sharp with lots of open strings like these. So your ring finger on the 4th fret of the 5th string, and then your index on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and all the rest open. On on the strings 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to replace the ring by the middle on fret 3, and now that's going to become a C major 7. And you can alternate between both like these: C sharp, minor 7, flat 5, C major 7. And then E minor, right? This is something that I'm using in my own ambient guitar music. For example, listen to that clip of my song Lonely Under the Empty Sea from my album Scordatura. So you see, you can use it in ambient music too, so I love using it before the flat 6 chord. The second way is to use it with a chromatic walking bass line, and that's the spirit behind Stairway to Heaven, right? The principle right here, the spirit, is to go from A minor and eventually land on, you recognize that shape right here, so that would be an F sharp half diminished right here. So we want to come from here to go here after it. The only thing that changes is the little top note. But the spirit stays here, right here. So you can notice that if we remove the bass note and we keep only the upper 3 notes right here, it's actually an A minor triad. It's like an A minor bar chord. But we remove the big power chord at the bottom, and we are left with this. So if we add an A, we just complete the A minor chord. But if we add an F sharp, we're just creating a half diminished chord. And even more, if we put an F natural, now we got the same flat 6 chord from the first tip right here, right? The major 7 chord. So that's a really useful chord, because depending on the bass note that you choose at the bottom, you can create many different things. And it creates great sounds, and you can take that to your advantage, and that's what's so clever about Stairway to Heaven right here. Tip number 3 is one of my favorites, is to use the half diminished to replace or substitute a minor plagal cadence. What does all that gibberish mean? Theory, jargon? I'm gonna tell you what this is. You've probably already heard that sound before. That's what we call a minor plagal cadence. It's when we play a 4 chord and we make it minor to attract the root chord. That's this emotional, cheesy little resolution that we all love, right? So a regular, authentic cadence is to play the 5 chord that resolves to 1, 5, 1, 5, 1. A plagal cadence is to come from the 4 chord and resolve to the 1. So we have the note in common that makes it a smoother resolution, and then many artists are transforming this chord into a minor one to resolve after. And we can actually use the half diminished to substitute that same movement. So instead of playing F and F minor that goes to C, the root chord, I could play the 2 chord, so D minor 7, and then make it a minor 7 flat 5, so half diminished, and then resolve to C. And it's kind of the same effect. Right? Because we have the same movement inside the voicing. We have the da, 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 we get the same one, so it's a nice substitute. It's a different color. It's even more effective to me because you've got another note that wants to resolve at the bottom, right? So it's a great way to substitute it that I use in some of my songs from time to time. The last two tips are more on the jazzy side, but it's still great to know. So tip number 4 is just a good old regular 2-5-1. That's the most common turnaround in jazz. If you play jazz, it's going to be your bread and butter chords to use. So for example, if I stay in the key of C minor, that's going to be D minor 7 flat 5, then G dominant 7, and then going to C minor 7. So it's just 2, 5, 1. And if you want to spice it up, you can actually use exactly the same thing in a major key. So you could target a C major 7 at the end. So now your half-diminished chord is going to be slightly off key, like it's not in the key of C major, but that's going to work just as well. So it's great to know the 2-5-1. And the 5th tip is to use it as a dominant 9 chord without its root. So it's a rootless dominant 9 chord. And I'm going to explain why. Let's say we're going to pick that shape once again right here. So we could consider that all the notes in this chord right here are just extension of another chord. It's like a G chord without the G at the bottom, right? If I add the G right here, I get a I get a G dominant 9 chord. So even if we don't play the G, it sounds like it's implied a little bit, right? So we can resolve to C after, which is the root chord of my key. And that sounds great because what is implied is 5-1, and that works super great. So knowing that, we can use that dominant 9 voicing in many different ways. Now I used it as the primary dominant of my key, 5-1 to the real root, but I could use it as a secondary dominant. So let's say that I want to play the root chord, C major 7, and then I want to play the 4 chord, F major 7. So from the 1 to the 4 to the 1. But let's say I want to add more tension to lead to the 4 chord. I could actually play the half-diminished chord just from 1 fret below, 1 half step below. So I'm going to play my shape of a half-diminished. And then that's going to resolve super well to my F major 7. Because of the same principle at play that we kind of hear implied that it's a C dominant 9, which is the 5 chord of the F, right? It's the perfect resolution to go to the F, but F is not my root chord, it's my 4 chord. So it's a dominant, a secondary dominant, if you will, and then I can play the real dominant to my real root, right? So something like, and it just attracts the chords really, really well. I could use it as a tritone sub also. So if I take this right here, we could imply that there's a G at the bottom, but we could also change it. If you don't know what a tritone sub is, it's just that we're going to keep the same thing on top, but we're going to change the bass note, G in our case, to its tritone. So the tritone right here is going to be D flat, and that's going to create a super altered D flat dominant chord. And it's going to work just as well, just as the G chord to attract the C. It's going to work to play the tritone substitution, the D flat, to attract the C after, right? So So it's a great resolution after it. So there you go. Those are 5 ways. I'm sure I could have found many other ways to use it. It's a secret weapon. You can use it in so many ways. It doesn't have to sound jazz. Like I said, my favorite ways is to use it before the flat 6 chord to add a little color passing tone, or to substitute a minor plagal cadence. And I'm even using that into my own ambient guitar music. If you enjoyed this lesson and you want to learn further with me, I have a free course on my website. My students love it. You can learn spread, triads. I'm showing you and giving you chord tabs and exercises and video lessons. And every single day I get students that tell me, wow, I can't believe you're giving that for free. This is so good. I've learned so much. It's my absolute pleasure. So if you want to go further with me, you want to keep learning with me, just click on the first link in the description box and get my free course. It's my pleasure. So until next time, au revoir.